Hello everybody, how's it going today? Glowplasma here about World Trigger chapter number 259. This chapter is titled The Away Mission Test Phase 2 Part 2, and this is the chapter for December of 2025. And yes, I know the last World Trigger video I released on this channel was over 2 months ago. I have no excuse. I am just a busy college student, and things, you know what? I always have good intentions with World Trigger, you know? Like, I love talking about this series so much every time I do, but the thing about these videos is that they take a long time to make. Between actually reading the chapter, figuring out how I want to discuss the chapter, make sure I don't leave anything out, then to actually recording what most of the time is over a 40-minute video, editing and doing all of that, these videos are actually pretty intimidating to make, and you know what? I have no excuse, because World Trigger is a gem of a series that Daisuke Ashihara gives us every month, or mostly every month whenever he can, and it's just a great time to always talk about it. And we have a really funny chapter of World Trigger to talk about today, really getting into the beginning phase of Phase 2 of the Away Mission Test. And what I really love about this chapter is not only the amount of small setup pieces that we subtly get throughout this chapter, but also the fact that we have a really long chapter to talk about today. A whole 31 pages of good old manga greatness. And in the process of this, a very awesome double page spread, or more 3/4 page spread, but I'm going to count it as a double page spread just because of the sheer scale we get. And also, like, dude, we have Ikoma in this chapter. Any World Trigger chapter with Ikoma is instantly one of the best of all time. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get into talking about this great old chapter of World Trigger. Before we can do that, we first need to discuss what happened last time on World Trigger. And very simply put, last chapter, even though it was like a solid, I think, 37 pages. It was a very long chapter last time, but we do have to remember the last half of that chapter was simply just going through all of the various characters who will be a part of this second phase of the Away Mission Test. All of the provisional squads and all of the A-rank squads who are going to be coming together and, well, doing their thing by fighting. And really the big thing that happened last time was everybody got sort of intonated with what this exam is going to be in this sort of away mission like test grounds that's actually pretty massive. All of the terminals, seeing the layout of the full land, and along with that, selecting Kodera as the captain for the provisional teams. He was just picked by Suwa for the main reason of the other team is going to have one and it can't be anybody with A rank experience. So because of that, Kodera, I think, is our best bet. And then really at the end of the last chapter, we just saw all of Suwa Squad 7s heading off towards, I think, they're heading towards T5, if I'm not mistaken, where Karuma's squad is, but I could be wrong on that. We'll get into all of that whenever we actually make it to the chapter as the clock strikes 9 a.m. And yeah, that's where we ended last chapter of World Trigger. And we actually open up this chapter of World Trigger with a color page, which is honestly so cool. It is a 2-page spread, and I love this because we get to see all of the A-rank captains in color. I really love how we see Tachikawa here, Miwa, we see Reiji, of course, from Tamakoma, Furushima, Kako, Katagiri. Oh, I'm forgetting the least one. Oh, what is his name? Oh, yeah, Katagiri, I named him. Oh, Kako, I'm forgetting Kako. I always forget Kako, you know? And in the process of that, Arashiyama, Kazuma, Furushima, I think I said his name, but we see all 9 of them here on the battlefield, and man, it just looks really cool to see them all here. I love how Furushima's just sitting in the middle of his trapper computer right in front of him. We even see Kusakabe with her laptop for the operator task on her back as well, which I think is really cool as she is sort of facing the back, same as Katagiri. I think it's just a very cool way to show, like, hey, she's the operator. Reminder, she has this. It's going to be coming up here probably pretty soon, even though it doesn't get brought up in this chapter specifically. I just think it's a really cool cover page spread, and also, like, look, we see more Kazuma, we see more of Jude, we see more of Arashiyama. It's just, it's so cool. I don't know why I said Jun and Arashiyama, because his name is Jun Arashiyama. I meant to say Reiji, you know what, maybe I'm just rambling on too much here. But either way, we start off this chapter as Suicide Squad 7 is running through this entire map. And as they are, they're just heading on the tops of all of the buildings until eventually Kotori jumps down high up in the air and she leaps down and lands on the ground. As we also, a lot of this chapter is told to us by Kodera, who is also running to meet up with all of a bunch of people. As Kodera's just like, hey, Kodera of Squad 6 here, keep doing what you're doing, but listen up, everybody. Firstly, could all operators forward me your compiled list of Trion soldiers, since those soldiers will be integral to our tactics, and for the squads who are currently moving towards the front line, this can wait until after you rendezvous with all of your other people. And we see Ui's like, aye aye, Captain, we'll do whatever you say. Kodera also continues just saying, next, I have a question for all of those with A-rank experience. The map for this test resembles the one used for A-rank agents in the rank wars, but I can't be positive yet, so let me know what all of you think. And we see Kitazoe, who's currently standing on top of a building with the rest of his squad, and as Kitazoe sort of just like looking around, he's like, well, did we actually use this map whenever we were A-rankers? And as Kitazoe's looking around, we see Kageura in Squad 3, as he's just like, now that you mention it, it does seem pretty similar. And we also see from Murakami's Squad 10, we see Hayami, who's like, yes, you are definitely correct. I recognize the landscape now that I'm higher up. The entirety of our Rank Wars maps looks like it's here, though to be precise, the Rank Wars only included a fraction of what is here now. As we get this really cool looking map on the side of the temporary squads, as we see like, hey, the area surrounding T5, which is sort of broken up into a grid with 9 squares, with T5 being located in the middle square, that seems to be the city streets map. We see around T8 is the commerce sector map, T2 the industrial sector map, so on and so forth. There's a few of these maps that they use for the A-rank battles scattered around here, which I think is just a really cool way to show this of like, yeah, Border's putting all of the use of their Trion-based, like, protocols to make this massive map whenever they typically try to reserve some, so they just make these smaller maps for this smaller amount of teams to battle on, being that, like, 9 squares normally holds, like, what, 3 teams, maybe 4, and in this battle right now, we have, 9 A-rank squads, and then the 11, so that's 20 teams? Yes, a whole lot more than the typical 3, maybe 4 that we see on the typical Rank Wars map, right? I also do like the whole thing where Kodera's like, hey, also forward me all of your Trion soldiers, because if I'm going to want to know how to deploy them whenever we get into that. It's just a little bit of a neat thing with Kodera being commander, right? Kodera then also just is like, oh, copy that. Thank you very much, Hayami. On that note, I would ask those with A-rank experience to use their knowledge to help those without. As we see that squads 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, and 10 all have people with A-rank experience sprinkled throughout there, with Squad 1 and Squad 10 just having one person, and Squad 8 having this very big outlier with both Ninomiya, Emma, and Azuma, all 3 of them having A-rank experience. And of course, that then leaves squads 5, 7, 9, and 11 who don't have any A-rank experience at all. And I find that pretty interesting because, like, yeah, I definitely trust Suwa and Mizukami to be able to figure all of that out, and Wakamura to an extent because, like, he has a neighbor on his team, but you're sort of leaving Kuruma Squad 5 here in the dust, and you know, I don't really feel too good about that because, like, who does Kuruma have on his team? It's him, Osano, Hokari, Korai, and Yuba. Like, I trust Yuba the most out of any of the characters there. But either way, Kodera just says, meanwhile, I'll provide tactical support for the squads without any former A-rank agents. Over and out. Everybody sort of hears this in all of the squads, and as Suwa Squad 7 is running down this corridor to meet up with all of their people, he's just like, alright, so the long story short is that this is a home field game for the A-rankers, and Osama's like, yeah, well, we're playing on more of an away game, and Ui just adds, well, at least some of the away game crowd are our allies. And I do like this because, of course, on an away mission test, you are heading to an alien planet, and the whole idea is testing the provisional squads, so it's obvious that the A-rankers are not only more powerful, even if there are less of them, and that they would have the home field advantage for all of these guerrilla tactics that they may use in an unknown land. Gosh, Ashihara, this is so brilliant on every single level. Oki then pipes in just saying, well, above all, we want to avoid getting dragged into a zone where the enemy's got the tactical advantage. And Osamu's like, yeah, true enough there. Squad 1 then reports in just being like, hey, this is Squad 1 reporting in. We've just rendezvoused with Squad number 2. We also see that Squad 9 reached T5. And Music Army is just like, hey, did you go ahead and move on Kuruma? As Kuruma overcomes this point, he's like, yeah, let's meet up at the spot where the bridge comes into view. And Kodera, of course, is overseeing all of this. He's like, all right, understood then. Squads on the front line should expand radar radius and be very cautious. The way that our first skirmish unfolds could have major ramifications for this entire battle. As Oki then sort of falling behind Suwa just says, hey, they all got there pretty fast, didn't they? And Suwa's like, yeah, well, we're not far behind either. As Katori, who is taking the lead of Squad 7, looks up in front of her and she's like, hey, there, I see Squad 3. I lied in the beginning of the video. We saw Squad 9 was heading to Squad 5. It seems like Squad 7 is heading to Squad 3. I can't believe I am sorry to the entire World Trigger community for my lack of knowledge on this series. But either way, as the two of them are running up, we see that it's Kakizaki and Fujimaru who they see here, and Oki's like, hey, now that we're here, I'm going to go ahead and scope out the area, and uses Grasshopper to leap up onto some of the tall high-rise buildings around them. They're just like typical apartment complexes. And Suwa's like, hey, that's a pretty good plan. As Suwa, Ui, Katori, and Osamu all meet up with Kakizaki and Fujimaru. And Kakizaki's like, hey, good to see you over there, Suwa. And he's just like, hey, how's it going, Kakizaki, Fujimaru? And Fujimaru's like, sup? How's it going? Well, Suwa then just asks, like, hey, where'd the other members of your squad go? And he just explains, like, hey, they're over there staking out the river. There's a really big old railway bridge out over that way. And Sui, in the meantime, is checking her border-provided phone. And as she does, she's clicking a few buttons, and she's like, all right, getting here from Terminal T7 took us a little over 2 minutes. As we see that she just had a stopwatch set, and we see that it took her 2 minutes and 16 seconds to head over this way. And she's like, all right, so figuring that it takes us a little under 3 minutes to break through a terminal shield, even if they attack a terminal we've left unattended, maybe we could rush back in time to save it? And we just get the whole idea is like, hey, from T3, if all of a sudden Tachikawa is to make it over to T8, maybe Suwa can make it over from T3 in time to block out the entire battle, right? But then Katori brings up a very important point, saying, yeah, but that 3 minutes was for a single attacker, and with more people, they'd make quicker work of a terminal. Osamu then adds, we'd also have to consider how swiftly the defenders can move. And Ui's like, yeah, right, it really just depends on the squad. Taichi, part of Squad 3, then leaps down from on top of one of these high-rise buildings and says like, huh, oh, hey guys, how's it hanging? My name is Taichi, and I've got this very interesting looking hat on. And he's like, you guys got a minute? And Ui's like, oh, hey Taichi, and everybody else is like, hey, good to see you, and all of those various platitudes. And Taichi's like, hey, did you guys try using all of the Trion soldiers yet? And Osamu's like, no, we actually haven't. He's like, all right, got it. And he reaches into a pocket and he's like, all right, so this right here is whenever you select a Trion soldier via your operator's field laptop, one of these things pops out of the machine. What you're looking at is a Trion soldier egg. As we see this very, USB looking type thing, it's not even like a typical, USB flash drive, it's just like a popsicle stick almost, that on the few ends of it has just a few numbers written on it and some, barcode looking scanners on it as well. And Osamu's like, wait, that's an egg? And Katori's like, it's more of a token than anything. As Taichi then just explains, so whenever you get one of these, you can either crack the egg yourself or have your operator activate it from their laptop to summon a Trion soldier to your location. And he's like, a soldier, like, hey, number 1, come here. As we see off the roof of this high-rise as well, leaps down a Trion soldier mount, dog-looking thing, right? It's got the typical Trion soldier look with the, rabbit-type head with the ears off to the side, but more of a dog, canine-like body. And both Ui and Osamu are like, what is this thing now? as it's pretty much just as big as Taichi. Like, it's honestly a little bit bigger, all things considered, but he's just like, hey, and just like that, summoned Trion soldiers obeyed the summoner's commands. You also don't have to, like, talk out loud either. You can keep the combo to internal channels as well, as he's just, like, whispering to himself. Or you can even issue orders through your thoughts alone while touching them, as he's just like got his hand rested on the side of the Trion soldiers, and he sort of just says like, hey, go over there and bite Inukai's butt off, pretty much. And it's like, okay, I didn't realize, does Taichi have like something against Inukai? Like, I know like Kagiora and Inukai, but like what does Taichi have against a dude, right? But either way, Ui's like, okay then, and Osamu's like, yeah, this is quite user-friendly. Kotori then brings up, so what you're saying is that if I called forth one of these things, it would obey only my orders? And Taichi's like, well, no, not exactly. The operator can use their laptop to change who's in charge, or you can just touch the soldier directly to put yourself in the driver's seat. And Kotori's like, okay, great, so it doesn't really matter who's summoning which one. As we get the whole idea of Osamu walking up and touching the side of this thing and being like, hey, I'm going to borrow this for a little bit and I'll come bring it back to you later, right? Osamu didn't ask Taichi, like, okay, what abilities does this thing right here have? And as I said a second ago, Taichi's like, oh, this guy is my mount. And Osamu's like, okay, meaning? And Kotori also is like, so you can ride that thing? And he's like, exactly. Picture this. You're an operator thrown into a live battle for the very first time. You're probably not quick or mobile enough to escape a menacing A-ranker, right? But with one of these bad boys, just about anyone can get away as fast as Kusakabe's squad. Maybe even faster. As you just get the idea of Fujimaru being quartered somewhere, Shun Midorikawa coming up and be like, hey, I'm going to attack you, and then she runs away riding one of these Trion soldier mounts. And Osamu's like, oh, wait a second, like, I like this. As Taichi also explains, like, we also just tested out a second ago, and with 2 riders, they can get around quicker than if we were just running. And we get the image of Taichi and Kagiora both riding one of these guys, and he just says, I think there'll be plenty of uses for that in the upcoming battles. And Ui's like, love it seems like really, really handy. And Kotori's like, so does it have any weapons or offense? And Taichi just explains, like, no, it'd be too much of a cost, so I poured the budget into utility like shields and radar jamming. And Osamu just thinks, not on offense, but on raising our mobility. A novel strategy from an unexpected angle. As you sort of think about all of this, Taichi then holds out one of the cards that he was showing them earlier, and is like, anyway, here you go, and he hands it to Ui. And Ui's like, what is this? And he's just like, hey, here's one of these tokens for you. Remember, whoever cracks the egg first gets put in charge of it, but all of Squad 7 can actively share it. And both Osamu and Kotori are like, huh? What are you talking about? As Taichi just explains that he is planning to hand all of these out to all of the various squads. He's like, don't worry either, my squad mates are super fine with all of this. And Ui's like, that's so generous of you. And Kotori's like, spooky, did Taichi like get replaced by a body snatcher or somebody? And he's like, hey, I've always been a very giving dude, you know what I'm saying? As Osamu even thinks like, hey, who knew that Betsuyaku was such a creative and flexible guy? Like, I'm honestly so impressed. And Osamu then just thinks like, hey, much appreciated, but I feel bad not having anything to offer in return. And Ui's like, yeah, for now, let's just get Suwa caught up to speed and maybe he'll have a good idea. And Ikoma's just like, sounds like a very solid plan, all things considered. And then literally everybody here, Osamu, Ui, Kotori, and Taichi are all like, Ikoma, like, what are you doing here? And I really love Kotori's reaction the most, is she's like, dude, this isn't Squad 2, like, this is Squad 3 and 7, like, I don't know what you're doing here. And Ikoma's like, oh, I'm just here for my food handouts. And Osamu's like, oh, yeah, about that. As Ui then just comments that the red Fresha descends, which, if I'm not mistaken, the red Fresha is a flower that, like, symbolizes, like, friendship and, like, community, and I don't quite get why she's referencing that here, but either way, it sort of is what it is. But Suwa then sort of walks over, and we sort of get the whole idea that the story gets explained to him through Taichi and all of the other various stuff is in the background. Oh, it's such a funny panel where Ui is like bestowing the food onto Ikoma, and Ikoma is just like kneeling down, head bowed, hands up high above the sky, getting ready to receive this god given gift, pretty much. But in the foreground, Sue is just like, okay, so that's a story then? Like, I really appreciate it. And he's like, it's honestly a very slick idea, Taichi. And Taichi just like blushes and like laughs, like, haha. And Susan like, well, how about this? We ought to give them one of our Trion soldiers then. And like, hey, Makumo, pick whatever one you want. And he's like, hey, very well then. As Sue then just says, and as for you, Katori, as all of a sudden over comms, Arafune speaks up. Arafune of Squad 9 here, and we got some movements from the A-Rankers. They're approaching from the bridge on point A1, but holding position at the far back of the bank. It's likely Tachikawa's squad. As we see that Kodera and Rokuda have briefly stopped for a little bit of a second just to take in all of this, and they start to look at Rokuda's map on her operator computer. As we see that Kodera's just like, alright, copy that, then we'll be on alert. Most of the enemy has yet to move from their terminals, and Katori then just says, and assuming that was indeed Tachikawa's squad that came from A1, then it's likely that each squad's starting position corresponds to its rank. Miura then just adds in, like, then that would mean that Arashiyama's squad started at A5 since they're ranked 5th. Okudera then just says, like, so also that means that Tamakoma 1 is at terminal A9, no? As Kodera's just here looking at the map where all of the squads are sort of still grouped up around their terminal when all of them have been more grouping up and meeting up with each other. As he's just thinking, but nobody from Tachikawa's squad is moving, like, that's really unsettling. And maybe all of our allies will manage to run a view as we plan to felt interference then? As all of a sudden, we look at the terminals of A7 to A3, where one person has suddenly almost teleported from A7 all the way over to A3. And Rokuda's very freaked out about this, like, what's going on here? As Kodera's just like, well, okay, movement from Miwa's squad then at an astonishing speed. And Okudera's like, is this like courtesy of Furushima's warping? And Katori's like, no, that wouldn't make sense for something over that distance. As we then look over from A9 over to A2, where Okudera's also like, yeah, it looks like Tamakoma is moving as well. As Kodera's then like, okay, so is this just the same trick from other squads? How in the world are they pulling this off? As we then cut over near Terminal A6, where Kaku's squad is, as we see Mai Kitagawa in the hand of a giant rabbit. And we see that she is just laying in the hand all of her like appendages together, and the rabbit rears back, taking the right hand where it's holding Mai and pulling it back, and then slinging it forward, throwing Mai with great speed. And we also see that Futaba is in the other hand, and Futaba gets thrown as well. As high in the sky, over all of this big cityscape, we see the two of them, Mai and Futaba, just flying through the air. And the two of them land on the top of another building. We see that Futaba nails the landing, but on the other end, Mai just hits the side of a wall as she pretty much just tumbles all around. And Futaba just walks over and is like, hey, are you good, Mai? And Mai's like, emotionally, yes. And Futaba's like, alright, that's good enough. As also a third person gets thrown over, and it's none other than Captain Kako herself. And both Mai and Futaba are able to catch her just in time before she splats against the wall. And I really love Kako's reaction, as she's like, man, we could make some really good money out of all of this. And Futaba's like, hey, traveling this way would kill us if not for our Trion bodies. As last but not least of Kako's squad is on Kobayakawa, as Kobayakawa just says, and she's like, hey, I'll make my way to your position without ever leaving the ground. How does that sound? And Kako's like, sure, whatever, take your time. And Futaba's also like, yeah, be careful out over there, Anne. Kuruma is also taking a good look at all of this on the computer, and he's like, wait, all of these A-Ring squads are grouping together at blinding speeds. What is all of this? Operator Asano then says, well, hey, with the exception of the squads from A8 and A5, it looks like every enemy squad is planning to storm our side of the river. And Kodera's like 7 of their squads, and he's like, all right then, squads 1 and 2 proceed as planned. Everyone else, a change of tactics. Drop everything and rendezvous at squad 5's position. And we see a bunch of the various squads like Wakamura's like, all right, got it then. Kodera then continues to spit out all of these various orders as he's like, all right, squad 5 and squad 9, keep a close eye on the enemy squad from A1. Once our opponents cross the bridge, abandon terminal T5 and prioritize grouping up. And Kuruma's squad is just like, hey, roger that then. Mizukami's also like, you got it. As Kodera, they continue to run and meet up with everybody else, as Kodera just thinks, still not sure what exploit they're using to travel so fast, but given how soon we all reach the front line, we're not lagging behind too much. Did they just observe our movements and decide on a rapid concentrated attack force? I have to wonder, who is taking command on the other side? As we look to the other side, where we see that Tachikawa is speaking to somebody, and he's like, alright, Kazuma, Furushima, and Kako squads are all here with us now, and Tamakoma, Miwa, and Kusakabe squads are also coming up fast. And we see Arashiyama just say, alright, great then. You go ahead and get the party started, Tachikawa. Put on a real dazzling show, okay? And Tachikawa just says, I live to serve, Lord Commander. Look at that. Arashiyama is in charge of the A rank squads. As we also see Tokeda there as well, along with the operator of Arashiyama squad. I'm definitely not stalling. Who is it? Haruka Ayasuji. That's who is the operator of Arashiyama squad. I don't know if that name has ever come out of my lips before. But either way, we just see the 3 of them are all standing together on top of a building. As Kuruma is looking down at the laptop some more, as we see a bunch of A-rankers are crossing over the bridge towards T5 and T4. And Kuruma even just says like, alright, the A-rank squads have crossed the bridge. And the entirety of Kuruma's squad is like, oh no, this is really bad. As Kuruma himself is like, alright, it's time to abandon T5 and group up just like Kodera said. Korai is there as well, and he's like, alright, so we're planning to meet up and battle them with squads 4, 5, 8, 9, 3, and 7, correct? And Ikoma's there as well, and he's like, yeah, squad 6 and 10 could also join in on the fun if they give up on T4, isn't that right? And Kuruma's like, yeah, that's true enough, as again, everybody's like, Ikoma, what are you doing here? As we see Katori's here as well, and Kuruma brings that up, as Korai is just like, wait, how did you two get here so quickly, and why? And Ikoma's like, why? Isn't it obvious? Food handouts, please. As he's just holding up his hands like, oh, please, I want my food. As also Katori's just like, whatever, speak for yourself, dude. As she is still riding the mount that Taichi bestowed upon her. And that's where we end this chapter of World Triggered, the chapter for December of 2025. Now, as I mentioned, this is a massive setup chapter for the away mission test. We're getting a whole lot of ideas brought up in this chapter as we see 2 forms of not really tactical Trion soldier use. I mean, I guess, or it's more tactical, but not like battle tactics as far as all of that's concerned. We have these mounts, and we also have these throwing rabbits. Even though this is probably something that a regular rabbit can just do, so like, even if it has like upgraded arm speed to like throw, that also probably means it can punch really well as well, you know what I'm saying? So I do like the whole idea that we're seeing here as more of a dual use for these Trion soldiers, not only transportation, but, well, potentially very good combat ability as well. The Ikoma joke is played up twice in this chapter, and it is absolutely hilarious both times, as it's just like, yeah, everybody's talking, and it's like, oh, talk about Trion soldiers, talk about our battle tactics, and Ikoma's just here like, I want my food handouts, please, and still, I think the best panel of this chapter has to be on page 18, panel 3, where we just see Ui bestowing Ikoma with all of this food. It is... oh, I love World Trigger in every single facet of the imagination, you know what I'm saying? Also, I guess the big reveal here as well is that, look at that, Arashiyama is being the leader of the A-rank teams, and I also just love how the A-rankers banter with each other, especially Tachikawa just going, "I live to serve, Lord Commander," is just a little bit of a nice, fun thing there. But yeah, really that's all I gotta say about this chapter of World Trigger. For as much setup as it does, there's not really too much else to discuss right now. I mean, next chapter, I know, being that I'm recording this in July of 2026, yeah, we could have had 6 chapters of World Trigger come out, but sadly, Ashihara has only been able to give us 3. But of course, I'm not complaining. Ashihara, take as many breaks as you need. So I know what happens in at least the next 2 chapters of World Trigger as we start to see an actual battle be played out in real time. And I legitimately can't wait to talk about it. So I'll see you guys soon, talk about more World Trigger. And if you want to check out some more World Trigger content, I've been covering this series since like chapter number 227 of the manga, maybe? I actually don't fully remember. Granted, those old videos are very old and from like 2022 or 2023. They're very old and they're not very good at this point in time, so I don't recommend going and watching all of those. But if you do want to check out some more of my content, then, well, I've got a playlist of all of my World Trigger videos linked in the description box of this video along with the end card of this video as well. And if all of that being said, this was World Trigger chapter number 259, again titled The Away Mission Test, Phase 2, Part 2. And I'll catch you guys next time for World Trigger, chapter number 260. Until then, I honestly wish I could do like the whole joke of where like I have Ikoma then standing next to me and he's like, "And this is Glowplasma signing out." And you know what? I just did. Ikoma, long live you. And I'll catch you guys next time. This will be Glowplasma signing out.